Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Gulfstream today, and welcome to Gulfstream Park. Ron Nicoletti, along with Acacia Courtney. It is another Chamber of Commerce day here in South Florida. Fast main track, firm turf course, and should be a fun day. Acacia, before we get started, we had a spill yesterday afternoon in the last race, and great to let people know that Edgar Zayas only has a broken rib. I thought it was going to be much worse, so he should be fine in just a little while. And Jose Caraballo, the other jockey, went down, just had some bumps and bruises. He'll be back very soon. So they're both off their mounts today, but good news with those two jockeys. So a broken rib is not a fun thing, but it could have been a lot worse. So congratulations to them, I guess, for being that lucky,
Well, of course, it's always a hard thing to see, and really happy to hear that the jocks are doing okay, and I'm sure that they'll be back in the saddle as soon as they possibly can. But we will keep you posted on those jockey changes today, but of course our thoughts are with them.
Yep, and let's take a look at the wages we're going to offer you this afternoon. Race number 1 today, we're going to start it with the rolling super high 5. Also in race number 1, we have our first of 2 pick 5s on the afternoon. In case you will have a ticket, that is a 50-cent wager, always pays very nicely. Rainbow 6 with an 8-race card starts in race number 3, and that carryover is starting to get up there. It was $88,000, but it was well over $100,000 yesterday. So if you had that one unique ticket, there were a couple of tickets alive, but they did not hit it. And we're going to end the day with another pick 5, and that is races 4 through the end of the card, race 8. And in case you will show you another ticket that she has put together. And we've both been knocking on the door with our tickets. We just seem to get knocked out in one of those races, but I got a good feeling today. So let's take a look at your early pick 5 ticket.
Yes, we're going to say today is the day, and it starts in race number 1 for the early pick 5, a $32 ticket. I was able to find a single here in this one, and that came with race number 4, the number 3 Tetra Dracum, who we'll talk about later, but too deep in the first couple legs, and then a little bit deeper in race 3 and 5. It's always, I think, more difficult when you have some of the younger horses, a lot of first-time starters. You go a little bit deeper because you just don't know what's going to happen in some of those races.
Hey, we had a horse break the track record yesterday, a first-time starter, so you never know when those, especially in the 2-year-old races, when you're going to see a budding superstar. That horse was disqualified and put to 6, but he'll come back, and very, very impressive, and that track record still stands.
Yes, and it's always fun to handicap those kinds of races and see, and like you said, you never know who you can follow down the road, so certainly some interesting horses that we've seen debut right here at Gulfstream that we'll be following.
Well, let's get into this first race. I don't know who you put on the top of the ticket, but I went with See Our Destiny. This one is stretching out to a mile and a 16th today after returning from the layoff. He opened up a 2-length lead in that race. He got nipped at the wire, finished second. He was beaten the neck as the favorite. He's a 0 for 17. She is a 0 for 17, daughter of Noon Mark. The other concern I had is she lacks a previous victory at the distance. She's had 5 races, no wins, but 1 second and 2/3. So I just thought on paper, certainly the one to beat in here, but that 0 for 17 record, you might want to go a little deeper if you're putting that early pick 5 ticket together.
Sure. I went too deep here in this first race, and I agree that there were some question marks still about ZR Destiny, but she actually broke her maiden, her first one on the turf, and very impressively, first on the turf after a couple of races on the dirt. But the main reason that I used her on top was because she seems to be the lone speed here in this race, and I think coming more towards the rail, she will be able to kind of have it her own way there, and 17 starts so far. She said she's just 1 for 13 here at Gulfstream, and she's burned some money as the favorite in a few of her past races, but when she switched over to the turf, 3 back, again, she won by 5 lengths that day, and then finished second in the next 2 races, and she'll get Amisel Jaramillo aboard. She's second now off about a 3-month layoff, so I think I agree. On paper, she looks to be the one to beat.
Yeah, and she does look like she has that tactical advantage, and we'll see how the races play out today on the turf course. Of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, listed as firm, and that, of course, rightly so, 6 to 5 on the board. The other horse that we both used on our ticket in second was the 6 Little Big Girl, who's dropping to this level today at 16-2 lifetime claimer. Faced tougher on the grass since breaking her maiden for $35,000 here. Well, that was back in January. Trainer Chucky Simon's been having really good meet here, and he's going into this day 6 for 16. He's got Eduardo Nunez in the saddle today. We mentioned those jockey changes, by the way. On the 4, it is Lionel Reyes, and on the number 6, it's Eduardo Nunez. And if I remember correctly, Eduardo Nunez picked up a mount for Chuck Simon yesterday and won.
Yeah, so Nunez has been having a pretty good meet himself as well. So Little Big Girl, first time for this barn, last time out, and they added the blinkers, and she was running against tougher. She's going to drop a little bit coming here, and I think think that this might be the good spot for her. And as you said, Chuck Simon really on fire lately, so wouldn't be surprised to see a big run from Little Big Girl.
You closed it out with the 3 Luminous Cielo.
I did. This one's a little bit of a long shot play for me. 10-1 on the morning line, and very early in the wagering, 9-1 on the board. Adding blinkers for the first time here. Third start in the barn of Peter Walder as well. Stretching out once again. First time with Walder ran a mile and then cut back to the 7.5 last time. We'll now try the mile in a 16th. I think the addition with the blinkers and a little bit extra distance might help this horse a bit, and she can put up a big run and is a nice price.
Yeah, and if the 2 horse goes up there and someone challenges it early, might set up for a horse like the 4 Virgin Moreno, who came running late to finish 4th. That $25,000 optional claimers going a mile. So that's how we see race number 1. We'll flip the page. We'll go to race number 2. It's a 6 furlong claimer, 3 and up, non-winners of 2 races in life, or 3-year-olds. A jockey change on the number 3. Make the rider Luca Panici. And please note that the apprentice on the 4 horse, Alvaro Donis, now is a 7-pound apprentice. He won the 5th race yesterday, so he lost one of his bugs. He'll be carrying 7 pounds, so make sure you adjust that. I went to the inside here with Carpuano, but you went with the number 6 horse, a horse I didn't know, and I want to hear about it, and that is Chia Ghost.
Yeah, I liked the number 1 a lot, but I went instead to the outside. 1 of 2 for Enrique Sanchez here in this race. This horse was a $115,000 son of Rockport Harbor. Last couple of races were on the turf and did have a maiden victory on the turf, but if you go back to the last time that he ran on the dirt, he's only run on the dirt twice, but the last time was on a sloppy track when it was taken off the turf, and he ran very well, a really solid second, only beaten by 2 lengths. So I like the turf to dirt switch here. I'll be really interested to see how he runs, taking a little bit of a gamble with him, and I thought of the 2 Sanchez horses in here, this definitely looks like the one to beat, the other one being the number 2 Cold Blood, who's a little bit more of a price.
Yeah, number 1 Carpuano, as you mentioned, stepping up to the next logical level after returning from about a 2-month layoff with a LASIK head, and then he really drew away and defeated 62.50, 2 lifetime claimers at this same distance, and I just thought of the performance, I'd give this horse another shot. I like the way he responded to the addition of LASIKs. Now, we both used the number 5 in the second spot on our ticket, and that is Perdito Playboy.
Yes, Perdito Playboy. This horse actually broke his maiden on the dirt, won by 5.5 furlongs that day, and this one really looks to be the speed in the race, coming from the outside here. Last couple starts were on the turf. One of them is a victory, one was a second, and last time out just seemed kind of empty in that race, so it looks like something needed to switch, and the trainers and connections decided to go back over to the dirt and find out if returning to the scene of the breaking of the maiden will be the key for Perdito Playboy.
Well, you're absolutely right. He looks like the controlling speed in a big danger. If he gets loose on the front end, this thing will be over real early. I think he's the one that's going to control the action in here. The other horse I used on my ticket was the 3 Wagga Wagga, and this one is dropping to the $10,000 level, returning to the main track, following his 12.5 maiden score on the dirt. Then he comes back, he breaks slow, he's 7th, going 5 furlongs on a good turf up at Tampa Bay. Maybe a horse like this comes back, gets to the back to the main track, can grab a share on the board. I believe it's 6 to 8 to 1 in the morning line. That's the one I mentioned. Will be ridden today by Luca Panici. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll show you my Rainbow 6 ticket. As I mentioned, over $88,000 already in that pool. Welcome back for race number 3. It's a 5 furlong maiden claiming event for 2-year-olds. That's right, you heard 5 furlongs. This is the first 5 furlong race for the youngsters this year. And as I mentioned, the Rainbow 6 will start in race number 3 and go to the end of the card, a 20-cent wager. Let's quickly look at my ticket in here, and we'll show you. I went 3 deep in here, 2, 4, and 5. And as you mentioned, with these youngsters, you got to sort of go a little deep. I found it, a little harder in the 4th race to come up with a horse that I really like to get a couple of long shots with the 3, 5, 7, and 8. 2 deep, 2 deep, 2 deep, and 3 deep. $57.60. As I mentioned, this pool will be well over $100,000 with no problem.
Yeah, and you went 4 deep in the 4th race, and I singled, so we'll see what happens.
I love when that happens.
Yeah.
So who'd you put on top?
Well, in this particular race, in the third one, I went with the number 4, Lifelong Dreamer, owned, trained, and bred by Wesley Ward. And we always joke about how you can't leave Wesley off the ticket. He's been really doing well, especially with first-time starters and the youngsters here at Gulfstream. This horse is a half brother to Zero Out, another maiden winner for Wesley Ward, who came and broke her maiden nicely here back on May 19th for Wesley Ward. So some good pedigree over there, and just again another one working consistently, getting ready for a big debut.
Well, let's show you a stat on Wesley Ward with Lifelong Dreamer over the last 5 years with 2-year-old first-time starters. These are maiden claimers, not maiden special weight. Really good percentage here. He's 14 for 51. 27% win average, 49% in the money, but only the $1.53 ROI because people, like we joke around, you see Wesley Ward's name, it's a horse that you want to put on the ticket. But I did go a little different way. I went with the 2 in here, De Meister, on top of my ticket. This one is dropping to the $35,000 level. After dueling and weakening late, he finished third behind a horse in there called Cold Snack 30, who went on. And from that race, went on to finish, I believe, 7th in the Kentucky Juvenile last time out. Dane Kabisky doing a great job with his 2-year-olds. He's got Eddie Castro in the saddle, so they thought enough of Cold Snack 30, to put it in that stake at Churchill Downs. So we'll see off that performance to drop down for a tag, stretching out to 5 furlongs. And you have it on your ticket, too. I mean, it's a logical choice.
Absolutely. The move from maiden special weight to maiden claiming. Second-time starter for Dane Kabisky. This one's by Bodemeister. This was actually the first foal of Bodemeister to run. Second foal came back and won very impressively for Todd Pletcher. And this horse finished third. You mentioned in his debut, finished the horse that finished second there was named Animal Quiet, who's running later on today, and we'll talk about that horse a little bit later. So seeing how De Meister runs here might flatter Animal Quiet a bit, so that'll be something to keep an eye on as well.
What about the 7 that you used on your ticket, Dominic Stream?
I did. I went for one that's a little bit more of a price on the morning line. This one for Kathleen O'Connell. We say it all the time that Kathleen's horses coming, first-time starters especially, just look physically so well prepared and have been performing really, really nicely. She had that horse Lulu Laura that won yesterday by disqualification, but still put up a really good run. And this one, the Dam was a stakes winner, the Sire Factum. It only has a few foals running so far, but an interesting one to keep an eye on.
I also used a 5 in there, and that's Tito Controllers, a gelded son of Gone Astray, making his freshman debut for trainer Marcial Navarro. Back-to-back bullet workout showing the barn. 0 for 8 with 2-year-olds thus far, but Lasix, Carlos Olivero, and elect the way this horse is working. And you don't put too much stock in that 0 for 8. This is not really what they do. But if you got a runner, Bullet Works, a horse that you might want to take another look at. He's third choice on the morning line. So a great race, 5 furlongs, as I mentioned, the first 5 furlong race for 2-year-olds here at our meeting. Let's go to race number 4, and let's go to the turf. 7.5 furlongs. Claim is 3 and up, $10,000. And race number 4, it has our final pick 5 of the afternoon. And I know you have another ticket here, and we'll see how it goes. I know you singled the horse earlier, so we'll see how it plays out now.
Yes, I singled this horse in my early pick 5, but I'm very superstitious and always have a hard time singling in the first leg. So I included the number 5 Old Time Sake with the 3 Tetradrachm in the first leg of my late pick 5. Went 4 deep in the 5th race. That's another one for the 2-year-olds, and then 3 deep, 2 deep, 2 deep for a $48 ticket.
Well, let's go back and show you performance of Tetradrachm last time out. You'll see this replay. It comes up, and you'll see him here. He's the number 5 horse, and he's making like what I thought, pretty good move in here. And you'll see right now, he just has to, slam on the brakes, and I think it really cost him some momentum there. See him drop back. He had to get another position. He didn't run that badly as he turns for home. He got beat about 3 lengths in there, and I thought that was a key for his performance last time out. You see him, he's trying there. I just thought that, it wasn't the greatest, thing. I mean, the most obvious, but he just thought it took him off stride, and I think he's the one to beat there, and apparently you do because you singled him.
I do, and this horse is dropping a bit too. Tried the $30,000 claiming level last time out, so dropping to the 10 now. Checked back sharply is the comment, and I think, you can see it there. They really just wasn't able to run the race that he was trying to, and still was only beaten by 3.5 lengths. Also has been working consistently coming here. We were talking about back-to-back bullet works, and this one has had back-to-back bullet works and just some fast works in general coming into this race for the 7.5 furlongs. Stretched out on the turf and on the dirt a couple races prior, so this will be the second one sprinting on the turf, and I think all of those things combined should be a good, perfect storm.
We both used the 5 old time sake, who's dropping a notch. He's going to take those, remove the blinkers again after dueling for the lead. He weakened in that race. He finished fourth. That was against 12-5 claimers. At this distance last time out, Manny Morales, MSCL, Jaramillo in the saddle. And I think it just looks like a logical spot. They tried the blinkers. They're taking them back off again. It looks like they're searching for something that this horse, will be comfortable with. And I think it's a logical choice behind the 3.
Yeah, I mentioned a perfect storm with Tetra Dragon. I think that's what old time sake is looking for too. Emmy Sale Jaramillo has ridden this horse before. He's going to climb aboard again, though not in the past couple of starts. And I thought he ran very solidly last time out, and actually better than I was expecting. And I think the removal of the blinkers and maybe being able to find a good spot here in this race will be good for him.
Well, you got a sneaky selection in third, and that is the number 2 Sneaky Kit.
Yes, a sneaky indeed. This one is 21 out of 41 lifetime starts have been in the money, has some speed as well. A very consistent runner, had stretched out to the mile on the turf last time out, cuts back once again to the sprinting 7.5 furlongs, has a 4 furlong 48 flat work coming into this race, and I think this could be a sneaky, to continue on with the pun, a sneaky little choice to run in the money.
Well, we mentioned at the top the conditions of this race, and it's these are open claimers at the $10,000 level. And the number 8 Dominate is stepping up to face this open competition. Returned from a layoff last time out. He dueled throughout. He held sway. He defeated $10,000 condition claimers at the distance. So it is a jump up in class here. But, we proved he could win at a $10,000 claiming level. Terry Pompey is the trainer. You got Jesus Rios going for 2 in a row. And I sort of see this basically as a lateral move. I think this horse could run well in there. And I think it's a pretty square price on the board if he can prove he can handle that jump up in competition.
Yeah, 8-1 in the morning line. You can't argue with that.
Well, let's go to race number 5 this afternoon. Another 2-year-old race on the card. We got a couple today. 4.5 furlongs, maiden special weight. These are state-bred 2-year-olds, and we have one jockey change in here, and it comes on the number 5, make the rider Elvis Trujillo, and we both had the number 4 Animal Quiet on top of our ticket, and I think you had a race that you wanted to show from this horse.
Yes, and we'll actually see in this race Dumb Meister, who's running earlier on the card, as I mentioned. So here's Animal Quiet. He's the number 8 in this race here, and he had to go 3 wide and just dueled. He was very, very game. Ended up finishing second behind Cold Snack 30, and as you mentioned, the connections thought enough of Cold Snack 30 coming out of this race, and he's just going to pull away to win. There's DeMeister in there as well, who ends up finishing third, but I thought Animal Quiet just very game after dueling, first-time starter as well, and some really nice works coming into this one. May 16th went 3 furlongs in 35 and 3, a nice bullet work there coming into this race, so looks ready to go in second start and already has some experience.
And it's Wesley Ward.
And it's Wesley Ward.
Now, who'd you use in second? I know you used the one horse in here, Draft Beer, a horse I didn't use, and I don't know if you were attracted to us by the name, but let's hear what it is.
I did. Well, Draft Beer's the other one in this race that has some experience. Finished second last time out. That was beaten by 7 1/4 lengths. The winner was just a runaway winner that day, but Dane Kabisky is the trainer. A quick stat on Dane Kabisky in the past 5 years in second career start and maiden special weight. He's 12 for 51, 24% in the money, 24% win, 45% in the money with a positive ROI of 272. So some pretty impressive numbers there. 45% in the money, and I put this horse to run in the money at a nice 5-1 morning line.
Yeah, and I mean a nice return of investment, almost $3 on your investment. So that's pretty darn good. I did go with a horse that's 10-1 on the morning line. That's a Willy Nilly. He's a son of Cantharos, and Cantharos is a sire that produces 2-year-old winners at debut winners at a really solid 27% rate. He's debuting for Dave Brady. He's getting Lasix. Miguel Vasquez named to ride, and I think this is a horse you watch the tote action. If you see this horse taking some early money, maybe someone you want to add to one of your exotic wager tickets. Now, we both used the 5 on our ticket, and that is Sherpa.
Yes, this one debuting for Jose Pinchin. That's the one Elvis Trujillo will be aboard. Another one working really nicely coming in here, and actually another son of Cantharos.
Yeah, another son of Cantharos. He's debuting, as you mentioned, the connections. 4 local workouts are showing, and we mentioned that jockey change, as you said, to Elvis Trujillo. So a couple of sons of Cantharos running in there, and he did incredibly. His sire year was just fantastic. He produced so many debut 2-year-old winners. So something you always want to take a look at. And the 5th race, really, really fun race to bet.
I like this one a lot.
Let's go to race number 6 this afternoon. This one is 7.5 furlongs. Claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, $10,000. As I mentioned, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. If I did not mention that, and we do have one scratch in here of the main track only, and that is the number 9 Venom Girl.
Yeah, and I use the number 7 Little Twitch on top here, and you use that horse in second. So here's a race where we've agreed on what we think the top 3 horses would be, but we're just a little bit all over the place in terms of which one we think is actually going to finish on top. And this was a race that I did stare at for a little bit, deciding who I actually wanted to put on top. And I ended up landing on the number 7 Little Twitch, who's cutting back in distance once again. The last time that she ran at the 7.5 on the turf was back in January, and she had a track that was labeled good that day for sure, but she won by nearly 3 lengths.
Yeah, and it looks like she's the one that's going to come from off the pace. And the horse I put on top was the 8, Almost an Angel. And the reason I did that, she's reeling back at the same level of distance after her 2-race win streak ended. When she went up, she set the pace, was caught late. She settled for third that day, beaten 2.5 lengths. Trainer Rohan Creighton has Prentice John Cruz atop the speedy daughter of Artie Schiller. So here's my what I'm thinking is going to happen in here. The 8's going to go to lead and maybe steal it on the front end. If not, I think Little Twitch sits the trip right behind it and gets the job done. I think Little Twitch is actually the morning line favorite in there. So logical horses on a ticket, and as you mentioned, we're sort of in agreement. We both used the number 4 Pentathlon.
Yes, I used this horse. I thought that the number 3 Summertime Music was another potential speed horse, one that usually ends up going to the front and might fade a little bit. And so with that kind of dynamic, we have the closer and this other speed horse that looks logical to win. Pentathlon is the one who can sit just behind the leaders and stalk a little bit. So we got some diversity in our selections here in this one. Alfred McIntosh, the trainer, cut back to the 7.5 last time and was only beaten by half a length for a really game second.
Well, she finished third behind Almost an Angel back on April 22nd, second in front of her last time out at this distance. So this is the rubber match, at least between those two. And you mentioned the connections, so we'll see how Pentathlon does. So it's great. We got the same 3 horses, but we see the race maybe coming out a different way with speed and closers and stalkers. So,
and it's a rematch.
Yeah, rematch. So it's always fun to see that. Let's go to race number 7 this afternoon. 6 furlongs, allowance optional claimer. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds, and up with the jockey change in here comes on the 6, and that is MCL Hanamio. And how did you see this race? I went with the number 6 on top. My ticket will start there. Summer Rae, this one a stakes placed daughter of a Concerto, who was facing some of the better sprinters on the grounds here last summer, returns to action, moves to the Ralph Zadie barn today. String of solid workouts showing at Gulfstream Park West in preparation for the first start, but in 8 months.
Yeah.
I mentioned MCL Hanamio in the saddle, so there is a little bit of guesswork there with the number 6 in there. Summer Rae, third choice on the morning line. If this horse is ready, I think the class factor is not a problem. It's just if this horse is ready.
That was one of the big reasons that I left this horse off my top 3, coming off an 8-month layoff. The last couple of starts, found a sloppy track before the layoff happened and then the barn change. And this is one that I just kind of wanted to give her a race before I end up taking her on my ticket again. I think the jockey change and the barn change are definitely going to be beneficial, and the consistent works, of course, and she was definitely one to give a shake to. But I ended up going with Ralph Nix to run 1-2 here in this race. I used the number 2 Ad Ludum on top, who's cutting back in distance as well. Debuted at the 6.5 furlong sprint and won by 7 lengths, so sprinting definitely seems comfortable for her. And then I used the number 5 Crowning Affair, who we both used, and this one has some great pedigree and an interesting last race as well.
Yeah, and you wanted to show a backtrack on this horse?
Yes, and so we go back to April 24th. This was the first race for Crowning Affair off of about a 6-month layoff. Debuted in October and came back on April 24th. She's the number 5 there. She ended up winning this race by 3.5 lengths and finished ahead of a horse named Maria, who had been just a hard-knocking horse and finally ended up breaking her maiden. She actually was the next out winner. So the second place finisher here behind Crowning Affair was a next out winner. So a little bit of a key race, as you say. And this horse is from a stakes winning and graded stakes placed dam and a half to a horse named Christo, who was second in a stake behind a horse named Midnight Hawk, who was on the Kentucky Derby Trail. So some interesting pedigree there as well, and you'll see she's the runaway winner here off of that layoff. It was because of off that layoff and that big effort that I ended up putting her in second.
You used Ralph Nick's 1-2. I used him 2-3. I got the 6 on top. We'll see how this race plays out. Another fun race, and that is race number 7. Let's go to the nightcap today. This one is the 8th race, 7.5 furlongs. Maiden claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. Jockey change on the number 10. Make the rider Elvis Trujillo. And we're going to go back. Well, I don't know. Do you have the same? No. We'll start with the 3 hard to picture. This one is cutting back to 7.5 furlongs. I thought an eventful outing against Similar going a mile. We're going to show you what happened to her in here. When this video comes up, she ran this really steady sharply at the 3/8 pole. You'll see it right now. She is the 2. That's hard to picture right now. And really had a steady sharply here, as you'll see coming up just momentarily. Jock's got to stand up, put the brakes on. He's got to go all the way back there. Now they're going to flip to the stretch here. She is coming through the stretch, excuse me, and you're going to see as she's making this move, I thought it was a pretty good move. After that early trouble, and she gets, in some trouble here, they come out and, cut her off, and she has to, basically put the brakes on again. So I thought off those 2 trouble lines in that particular race. Got beat 2.5 lengths for the whole enchilada that day.
Yeah.
So we'll see how hard to picture does today, and that is the number 3. But the number 10, absolutely, totally the one to beat on paper.
Yes, on paper, and I can understand you putting hard to picture on top, and I said this is one, it seems like every time I do try to beat a Mark Casse favorite, that Mark Casse favorite ends up beating me. So this one looks to be the speed from the outside as well. Zip's Legacy, Elvis Trujillo will be aboard. Finished a very solid second last time out at the 5 furlong distance, and this one has been kind of knocking on the door and just really looks to have the speed, and I think the post position is going to be key to be able to kind of be hustled from the gate with Trujillo aboard to get out to the front and run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, certainly the 10 is the one to beat, but, you saw the trouble with that horse, hard to picture. And the other horse we both use, Humbelina, this one bred to love the turf. It's a daughter of Stormy Atlantic. Now in the Ronnie Werner barn, makes her 3-year debut. The first start since failing to show much on the dirt, but I like the breeding on this horse.
I do too. She's a half to a multiple graded stakes winner, horse named Fola, won grade 2 and grade 3. And coming off a 10-month layoff, though, hasn't raced since July in her first start in the Ronnie Werner barn. So figured give her a little race, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her run big and finish solidly in the money.
Yeah, and Ronnie Werner barn has been going really, really well. He's the trainer for Arundel. So Arundel, they've been having a really good meeting. So we'll see how that 8 race plays out. Good luck with all your selections throughout the afternoon. Just a couple of moments, we'll be turning it over to our track announcer, Pete Aiello. He'll update you on all the scratches and lots of jockey changes today. But good news, the jockeys that took a fall yesterday are going to be all right.
Always happy to hear that. Enjoy your day today. Happy Thursday.
What do I love about horse racing?